V'shirim Eroi Ki Elevecho Nafshi Saro Hoyanim Zmiro V'shirim Eroi Ki Elevecho Nafshi Saro Oy nafshi chamdot zeyadecha Odas kol rosoydecho Oy nafshi chamdot zeyadecha Odas kol rosoydecho Hoyanim Zmiro V'shirim Eroi
Amen. America is recovering from two major hurricanes. Hurricane Harvey and Hurricane Irma. And when you watch the dynamics of a hurricane, it gives you a special appreciation for those days and those places where the hurricanes do not occur, but the waters respect their boundaries. L'roika ha'aretz al hamayim. And it's here I want to share with you, my dear friends, a powerful insight and perspective that relates to these days. The Gemara tells a story. Beginning of a Basra. The story is that Hurdus, which is known in English as Herod, was the king of Eretz Yisrael, the king of Judea, appointed by Rome. He was the man, the absolute leader and monarch of the Holy Land, a century before the destruction of the second Beis Hamikdash. Hurdus was a wild man, very unpredictable, brilliant architect, sometimes benevolent and sometimes cruel and sadistic and barbaric. He was a very unstable human being. He died in the year 4, a few decades, a little more than a half a century, or a little more than a century before the Churban Bayesheni. So this is the story. Hurdus, after murdering many of the sages, decided to rebuild the second Beis Hamikdash, to renovate. His renovation was so successful that the Gemara says, Kol mi shelo binyan Hurdus loira binyan na miyamav. If you never saw the structure, the binyan, the home, the Beis Hamikdash that Hurdus built, you never saw a beautiful structure in your life. Azay paskin up the Gemara. Loira binyan na. You don't even know what beauty is. What was the godless? What was the greatness of Herod's Beis Hamikdash? So the Gemara describes how he built it and decorated it with marble. Describes exactly the nature and the color of the marble. One row protruded, one row was indented, the next row was protruding, and the next row came in was indented, etc. Zog the Gemara, Hurdus finished, and then he decided to cover it, to plate it with gold, real gold. And the Chachamim told him, no, better to leave it that way. Why? Because now the Beis Hamikdash appears ke'idvis de Maya. So Rashi Galei Hayam. Now when you look at the structure, it looks like the waves of the sea. If you cover it with gold, it'll look gold, but it won't look like the waves of the sea. Ke'idvis de Maya. That's the end of the story. Here you have to understand, why was it so important for them that it should look like Galei Hayam, the waves of the sea? And if it would be gold, the Mishkan was built of gold. Many of the Kalim had to be gold. Gold was the quintessential material that was used already for the Mishkan and for the Beis Hamikdash. What did they care if it will be covered with gold? No. Idvis de Maya, like waves of the sea. One of the explanations is as follows. Pasuk says in Tehillim, Kapitel Peites, B'soi Galav Ato Seshabche. Literally it means when the sea's waves lift up, rise up, Atayu Seshabche. Rashi says Seshabchem is Targiyim, you relax them. You ever sit at the beach or you go to the ocean and you see the waves, and the waves come rising up, and they're powerful, especially if it's closer to evening and the weather is intense and there are some winds and the waves rise, b'soy galov. But some point they come to the end, they come to the shore, they come to the sand. Atos eshabchem, you quiet them down, you relax them. Comes the Zoyar says in Parshas Noach, Seshabchem doesn't mean you relax them. Seshabchem means you praise them. Shvach. Meshubachem afoyer. Yishtabach shemcha. Atos Seshabchem, you praise the waves. Why do you praise the waves? Haitushbachte the almas of the Zoyar. So shvach, it's a praise. What's the praise? So he says as follows. Why are the waves rising? The answer is because Mayim Tachtoinim Boichin Anan Be'inin Lamevi Kodamalka. From the first Monday of creation, when the waters were separated with the firmament, Yehirakia B'Soich HaMayim B'Imavdil B'Mayim Lamayim. The first Monday when the firmament separated the higher water from the lower water Mayim Tachtoinim are weeping. Anan bin lemevi kadamalk. We want to stand before the king. It's not fair. The higher water has remained up there, and we were sent down here to lakes and rivers and canals and well springs and brooks and oceans. We want to be up there. We want to be by the king. Mayim tachtoinim boichem. Which is why Hashem told them that Sukkos, we're going to use the water and pour the water on the Mizbeach. So the waves are rising. This is their cry. Mayim tachtoinim boichem. We want to go back up. We don't want to remain down here. They rise. They rise. They rise with passion. They rise with a thirst. They rise with an eagerness. B'soy galov. And they rise with tremendous intensity. Mitashturim. Now, these waves have experience. As they're rising and they're about to flood the earth to go back to the original state of creation, what happens? They crash. They crash into the sand, v'hayu kaloi hayu. And they dissolve and they retreat, they recede back into their source. Says the Zohar, this avoida of the ocean, this nature, this lifestyle, so to speak, of the sea is deserving of special praise. Why is it deserving of special praise? The sea rises, the waves are rising, and they know that yesterday, a moment later, they crashed. There was nothing left. So you would think the next day, they would already relax. They wouldn't take their passion so seriously. They know it's coming to an end. In another few seconds, the Malava Malka is over. Over a bottle min ha'olam. Was stürmst du? Relax. B'soy galav atas eshabchem. You praise the waves that even though they know that in a few seconds, in a few moments, there's going to be nothing left. It's going to be all over. But right now, kemen stürmen. Right now, I have a passion, I have an enthusiasm, I have an excitement. Stürmich. I don't stop. They dance and they sway and they rise and they're full of promise and possibility, even though a moment later it's going to be gone. Now you understand why the Chachamim wanted the Beis HaMikdash should look at like the waves of the sea. Let me explain to you. When was this? This was the time of Hurdus, Herod. Everybody, anybody with a little seichel could smell the end. They knew the end is coming. This was not the good old days. Rome was brutal. Rome was sadistic. Rome exercised almost absolute and full control. The Jews themselves were splintered, destroying each other. The famous Gemara in Yuma about Sinas Chinam. The Kohanim Gdolim, the position of Kohanim Gdolim was up for bribe. Whoever Gedevas had the Meya had the day, whoever paid more got the position. The Gemara describes in Yom Kohanim Gedolim would go in Yom Kippur, they wouldn't come out because they weren't worthy to go into the Holy of Holies. The whole atmosphere, the whole environment was pessimistic. Hordas killed all Chachmei Yisrael, and this is all towards the end of Bayis Sheni. It wasn't dark yet, but it was getting there. And here you have a Beis HaMikdash standing, and the Jewish people are supposed to be Oila L'Regel, Pesach, Shavuos, Sukkos, with a passion, with a chiyus. Sholosh Pamim Bashana, Yirah Chol Schorchas Pnei Adon Hashem. This is Pnei Adon Hashem. This is an extension of Rome. And the Koyanim Mele people visit 3 times a year. No, you get not excited. But the people who have to go every day, the Koyanim, the Leviim, to do the avodah with a chiyus, with a passion. The Leviim have to get up and make a concerto, a symphony between the vocalists and the musicians on the platform, singing the Shir Shel Yoim with a tremendous chiyus. The Zohar says, Koyanim b'chashoy b'ru'usa d'liba, with a ru'usa d'liba, with a ratzon halev. You looked at the structure and you knew it's going to end very soon. Or it might. So the Chachamim told Hordas, don't decorate it with gold. The situation is not golden. But leave it ke'idvis d'yama, ke'galei hayam. Let the Jews who look at the Beis HaMikdash learn from the waves of the ocean. The waves of the ocean have the same exact dilemma. They say to themselves, in a few moments, the show is over. But right now is what counts. What counts is that right now I could rise. They wanted to inculcate in the Jewish people, you don't always have to make calculations for the future. You don't have to figure out how everything is going to work out tomorrow, the next day, the next week, the next year. Let God run a little bit His world. Don't worry. You have now an opportunity to serve. You have an opportunity to sing. You have an opportunity to bring a carbon. You have an opportunity to go to the Beis HaMikdash. Chaparai mit hashturim. Tomorrow the wave is going to crash. B'soy galavatas shapchem. Galei hayam. Comes Elul, comes Tishrei. And most people, many people think to themselves, the old word from the Satmar Rav, from the Divrei Yoel, said once, it says in Parshas Eikev, Eretz Hashe'ene Hashem Elokecha Ba Mereishis Hashana Vad Achiris Shana. Starts off with Hashana, ends off with Shana. Grammatically, you say the beginning of the year till the end of the year, or the beginning of a year till the end of a year. You don't say from the beginning of the year till the end of a year. He said, but that's what happens in life. The beginning of the year, people are excited. It's a new year, a new chapter, new resolutions, a new energy, a new oil. Then comes the end of the year and you take a look and you say, no, another year bites the dust. In the beginning, it's always Hashana, the year. The end, it's Shana, Nachayar. Another year, no, Nachayar. So we say, Hein ga'alti eschem, Acharis kivreishis. That the Acharis, you should still have the same passion like the Reishis. You don't say, it's over, another day, another week. Can Shturim in right now learn from the Galei Hayam? A person looks at his life and he says, here we go again. Elul, Slichis, Rosh Hashanah, Simei Tshuva, Yom Kippur. I already made hundreds and hundreds of resolutions in my life. I still did not keep one. I almost made as many resolutions as the times I went on a diet. And it lasted as long as the diet lasted. The diet lasts till the next bar mitzvah, or till the next smorgasbord, or till the next Viennese tale, which is basically, if you're in Muncie, it's the next few hours. That's how long the diet lasts. That's how long my tshuva lasts. That's how long my resolutions last. So what's the point? So some people just surrender to a certain form of cynicism, or disillusionment, or despair. That's the nature. But here you have to remember something very powerful. And that is, it's a beautiful word. I think I saw it in the Achprit Tvua. It says by Yosef, Vatispesehu bevigdoi leimer shichvaimi. It was that fateful day. Nobody was home. Potiphar's wife, who took a liking to Yosef, decided this is the moment. So she chapped Yosef by the beged, Lamor, to say, asked him a farshim, Vatispeseyu bevigdoi. She grabbed him by his cloak, Vatoimer, and she said, come to me, be with me, lay with me. What's Vatispeseyu bevigdoi? Lamor. The word beged, which means a cloak, a levush, a garment, a kleit, comes from the word boiged. What's boiged? Af Yiddish, afareter. You know what afareter is? A traitor. A boged. He's a traitor. Why is a beged called a boiged? Because clothes betray the truth. Yeah? You can have a person, a schnorrer, ben benoishel schnorrer, but he dresses up, and you could think he's a gvir. The other way, you have a gvir dresses homeless, you think he's homeless. Generally, clothes betray truth. They're a cover-up. People invest a lot in their clothes, but all clothes is a cover-up. Beged is a boiged. Vatispeseyu bevigdoi. How did the wife of Potiphar get Yosef? She chapped him on by the bigdoi lamer. She didn't have to say shichvoimi. The beged said it. Vatispeseyu bevigdoi. Her message to Yosef was, what are you suddenly going to become holy on me? You suddenly going to tell me, oh, no, I don't do these things. Vatispeseyu bevigdoi. She chapped him on. She grabbed him by reminding him that he's a traitor. It's that voice that everyone has in you. The kenstach zich allein. Who are you going to fool? You know who you are. As addicts in recovery like to say, we know us. We know who we are. You know who you are. Maybe somebody else doesn't know who you are. Or you think they don't know who you are. Or they think that you think they don't know who you are. But you know who you are. Vatispeseyu bevigdoi. She chaps on Yosef by his bgida, by his betrayal, and says, you know your history, you know your demons, you know your skeletons, you know your ghosts, you know your darkness, you know your Yetzer Hara. What are you now suddenly going to become holy? That's where people fall. The voice comes to you and tells you, this, look at your past, look at your future, look at your record. You know who you are, you're a boiged. What does Yosef do? Vayazoiv bigdoi biyado, vayonos vayetze hachutza. He leaves the beged by her and he runs outside. Yosef says, I don't define myself by my beged. I'm not a traitor. Yes, I have challenges, I have struggles, I have my skeletons. I'm not a boiged. I'm a chelik elikamimal. Vayonos vayetze hachutza. He leaves the beged inside with her. He doesn't allow himself to be identified as the beged, as the garment. The eye is not the traitor. There's a beged. I could extricate myself from my beged. It's not synonymous with me. So therefore, besoy galav atas shabchem, a person looks and says, where I was yesterday, I crashed. Tomorrow I'm going to crash. This is all pointless. Zogt ben idvis sedemaya. Don't allow your life to become a script from yesterday or from tomorrow. Yet shturim's too. It's about hayoim. It's about today. The Arizal says that what do we say Friday? And recently, this verse, this pasuk, took on some profound resonance for obvious reasons. Mikoilos Mayim Rabim Adirim Mishbireyam Ade B'Amorim Hashem. What's Mikoilos Mayim Rabim Mishbireyam? From the voices, the sounds of Mayim Rabim, the multitudes of waters, Mishbireyam, the breakers of the sea. Mikoilos Mayim Rabim, more than these tremendous sounds of Mayim Rabim, of Mishbireyam Ade B'Amorim Hashem. God is powerful in heaven. Zog da Arizal Mikoilos Mayim Rabim Adirim Mishbireyam Ade B'Amorim Hashem. It says Adirim Mishbireyam is Rosh Tevis Imi. Aleph Mem Yud Rosh Tevis Imi. Adir B'Amorim Hashem is the acronym of Avi. Right? Mikoilos Mayim Rabim. Adir in Mishbirei Yom starts off with Aleph Mem Yud, my mother. Adir B'Amorim Hashem is Aleph Vez Yud, my father. What's the connection between my mother and my father? One perspective is what we explained. Very often when you look at your children and you look at yourself as a mother and a father, especially if your children are already growing up and you see all the mistakes you made, and you say, yesterday I made a mistake, tomorrow I'm going to make a mistake. You look at your children, especially today's day, you're not exactly sure how things are going to work out in the future. And very often parents give up. They give up on themselves. They sometimes even chalila give up on their children. You know what the definition of a mother and a father is? Right now, b'soy galov. Right now you could connect. Right now you can love. Right now you can bond. You don't have to make cheshboina shaloylam always. What's going to be tomorrow, in a week, in a month, in a year? People are on journeys, different journeys. But right now you could bond. Don't figure everything out. To be a mother and a father means you could look back and wallow in regret. You could look at the future and be very, very pessimistic. But you want to be a mother and a father? Bond now. Connect right now. Stop getting stuck in what was and what will be. Creation happens right now. V'hayu advarim ha'el asher anochi mitzavcha hayoim. Hayoim hazeh niyei salam. Idv'sedemaya b'soy galav atas ha'shabche. Tanya says every Erev Rosh Hashanah, the light of the Pri asks a question. Divrei Yoel zok mereishis Hashanah v'ad achar Hashanah. Balatanya asks in the Geras HaKodesh Yudalid, could have said, Eretz Hashem Hashem Elokecha Batamid. If it's from the beginning of the year till the end of the year, it's always. Because it starts again. Eretz Hashem Hashem Elokecha Batamid. What's Mereishis Hashanah v'ad achar Hashanah? Say, his eyes are on this land, Tamid, always, forever. Forever. And it's a big thing. Eretz Yisrael. I heard the other day, Nathan Sharansky, who was a refusnik, and he sat for years and years in prison, tortured by the Soviets, by the Soviet Gulag, because he tried to get out of that paradise that Trotsky, Lenin, and Stalin and Marx created for the Jews of the Soviet Union, the Bolsheviks, exactly 70 years ago, right? Exactly a century ago, Tafresh Ayin Zayin, 1917. So they asked him, and later he went into politics. Today he's in the agency. They asked him, what's the difference between you and all other Israeli politicians? He said, I sat in prison before I went into the government. So it's a complicated land. It's a complicated country. It's not a simple country over there. Hashem has to look at it constantly. It's a complicated place. The Gemara in Tainis Daf Yud mitamtzis Eretz Yisrael shoyse kol olam kulai. Look at the Balatanya. You could have said Tamid Alamal. What's Mereishis Hashanah? So he says the pshat is it's not Tamid. But every Erev Rosh Hashanah, the oil, the light that came down for that year goes back to its source. And the next Rosh Hashanah in the morning, by Tkiyah Shofar, Yored Or Chodosh U'Mechudosh Shaloi Hoya Adayin Or Kazem Misheishis Mebereshis. A new light comes in that didn't exist from the beginning of creation. That means every year brings a new energy in the world, new opportunities, a new message. People look around and they see changes. Every change that happens in the world is because there's a new light, and you have to know how to develop the kelim for new lights. If you use the vessels from yesterday, you can't chap the new oil. You lose it. You have to always tune in. What is the oil right now? What is the oil, the message right now? So therefore I could look tomorrow, yesterday, but an Or Chodosh comes. Open yourself up, like the waves of the sea. Tayere Yidden. I'm going to share with you a beautiful Torah with the Meshech Chachma, the Or Sameach, Parshas Mishpatim. He says as follows. Before to appreciate what he says, let me just give it a little intro so you'll appreciate the context. We say in the Sana Toikef on Rosh Hashanah that everybody in the world comes from a Mishnah in Rosh Hashanah. The Mishnah in Rosh Hashanah in Perek Aleph says, V'chol boi olam. Everyone in the world, oivrin lefonav kibnei moron. They pass before him like bnei moron. And we say it in the Sana Toikef. Everybody in the world passes before you, kivnei moron. Asks the Gemara in Masechta Rosh Hashanah Daf Yud Ches Amud Aleph, what's bnei moron? What does bnei moron mean? And the Gemara gives three different interpretations. The first is kibnei imrana, like sheep, like a flock of sheep. Rashi says, when you have sheep and you want to tithe them, you want to give Maisa Behema, so you have to send them through a narrow entrance, and you count 1. And the 10th one is holy. The 10th one you tithe. The 10th one is Maisa. But they have to pass one by one through a narrow entrance. Second interpretation is Kaliyah's Beis Moran. Like people on the top of Mount Miron, there was a very narrow path with 2 cliffs on the side. One by one they have to go. And the third interpretation is Kachayolah Shel Beis David, like the soldiers of Beis David who would go out in single file and you would count each individual. That's Kivnei Moran. In Asana Toikef, which interpretation did the writer of an Asana Toikef embrace? Rabbi Amnon of Magensa, which one of the interpretations? Right after that he says, Kivakoras roya edroi mavit soinoi tachas shiftoi. Like a shepherd examines his flock and passes all of his sheep under his staff, kein taver, v'sisper, v'simna, v'sachtach, etc. So that means he embraced the first interpretation in Gemara, Kibnei Imrana, like sheep. Kibnei Moran is like sheep. What's the meaning of this? What's the point? Say like sheep, or like somebody walking on top of a cliff, on a narrow path near on both sides is a cliff, or like soldiers. So the Or Sameach, Rabbi Simcha Kohen of Dvinsk, and Meshech Chachma, and Mishpatim gives the following interpretation. Einfall, a chap. He says as follows. The halacha by Maisa Behema is, when you're tithing sheep, and the sheep go through the entrance one by one, the 10th one is Kodesh. 10th one becomes holy. But what happens if it's a Balmum? What happens if you discover number 10, it has a blemish? You can't bring it as a carbon. It's supposed to be Maisa Behema, you bring it as a carbon in the Beis HaMikdash. It's a Balmum, it's a blemish. It's still holy. You have to redeem it. You have to redeem it, but it became holy. It became hektish. It's a carbon. You can't offer it, so you have to confer the holiness on money. But it's holy. All animals become holy, but there's one exception. And that is if it's a treifa. If you find out that the animal has a terminal illness and it can't survive, and therefore it's not kosher, then a taka doesn't become holy. Then number 10 doesn't become holy. A balmum, I don't care. Blemish is fine. But treifa, if it has a terminal disease, and therefore you're not allowed to eat it, then it's taka not holy. The number 10 is not holy. That's what the Gemara means. On Rosh Hashanah we pass like sheep in the flock. If you have a mum, it's good, no problem. But treif, that's a problem. What's the difference? When an animal is blemished, an animal has a mum, everybody can eat it. We can eat it. It's not a problem. You just can't bring it as a carbon in the Beis HaMikdash. Ligavoya, it's possible. You can't bring it as an offering in the holy temple, but you can eat it. An animal that has a mum, an animal that has a blemish. If it doesn't have a terminal illness, it has a blemish, it has a mum. Missing a limb, it's blind, whatever it is. You can eat the animal, it's kosher. You can't bring it as a carbon for Hashem. But for you it's good. If it's a treifa, if it has a disease, not only you can't bring it as a carbon, lehedyot, for people it's also not good. It's not kosher for a person. We can't eat it. A diseased animal that's about to die, within 12 months it's going to die. Even a regular person can eat it. It's on the Beis HaMikdash. Lehedyot, it's also possible. Dr. Meshech Chachma, he says, that's why we say in the Sana Toikev, that's why the Gemara says, V'chol ba'olam oivrin lefanecha kivnei morin. What's the bnei morin? Zakrashi like sheep, kibnei imrana, Zakrashi like the sheep of Ma'aseh Behemah. If there's a mum in you, it's not a problem. You still pass. Why? For this you have Rosh Hashanah, Aseret Simei Tshuva, Yom Kippur, all mumim, all blemishes that make you disqualified for heaven. You're still holy because there is forgiveness. But that's only if you're a balmum. What happens if you're in the b'china of a treifa mean? People can't stand you. People can't eat you. You're in a fight with people. You're not in a fight with God. Mela, that he'll take care of. But you're in a fight with people. B'sish kem balmum, b's treif. Not treif as we say treif. Treif in halacha. Treifa. You're b'chinas treifa. He says here it's not Asir Kodesh anymore. Here the tent doesn't become holy. Here Rosh Hashanah says Simei Tshuva, Yom Kippur can't help. It can help, as the Mishnah says in Yuma. It's mechaper aveira sheben adam l'makom, but not ben adam l'chaveira. What does this mean practically? You have people. It comes Elul, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur says Simei Tshuva. They go to shul. They close their eyes. They daven. They ask God for forgiveness. They repair their whole life. But what about calling your brother-in-law? And what about calling your sister-in-law? And what about calling your mother and your father and your brother and your sister and your business partner and your employer and your employee and your colleague and your child, your nephew, your niece? Never. Never, 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 never. So he says the Balmum, that's not the issue. We all have blemishes. Who doesn't have blemishes? It's still Kodesh. Hasiri Kodesh. You're holy. You do tshuva, everything is forgiven, everything is clean. But my relationship with another person, that God says, you got to go to Him. Till He appeases His friend. But this is very difficult, because this is where our insecurities or our profound ego set in, and they sometimes create situations where people remain split up from their own family members, from their own community members, from their own friends, sometimes for years and sometimes for decades. And why? Why? They'll tell you it's huge, it's awesome. It's usually petty stuff. Even if it looks big, it's petty. What makes it petty? If you're in a situation where you're not speaking to your brother, where you're not speaking to your sister, where you're not speaking to an old friend, even if there was a major dispute, legabe any dispute, this result is a petty result. And this, I could be in shul a whole day, I could be in shul a whole Elul, a whole Tishrei, and not go home and be with closed eyes and stand the whole Yom Kippur and fast 2 days Yom Kippur. As the Gemara says in Rosh Hashanah, the Amirayim fasted 2 days Yom Kippur. Like the Amshinova did in Japan, in Kobe, during the war because of the question with international dateline. Fasting Yom Kippur 2 days is a nice thing, especially for certain people. But if the issue is the grudges, the fights, the conflicts we have with each other, can't help. Doesn't help. And this is where often we have to transcend our fears and make a telephone call, send an email, meet the person and say, let's make up. Maybe we're not going to become best friends. Maybe we're not going to become comrades. Maybe we're not going to become confidants. But was schlagt man sich? People don't talk. Man schlagt sich. They kill each other. How is it? You sit with your child at the Shabbos table and you could tell stories about the Baal Shem Tov and the Noam Elimelech and Rabbi Akiva Eiger and other tzaddikim and gedoshim and about their avos Yisrael, their love towards another Jew. But when it comes to my own brother, my own brother-in-law, my own daughter-in-law, my own son-in-law, this one, that one, because of a couple of dollars or a building or a house or a business issue or something went wrong by the Sheva Brachas, or you didn't give me bracha achrita by the chuppah, Meila Siddur Kedushin you didn't give me, but even bracha achrita not. Kam aboyre pri agafen. Aboyre pri agafen you give to your enemy, you don't give to me. People hold cheshbonos. The only person who remembers that you got a bracha is you. You should just know a klal by chuppahs. The only person that knows if you got a bracha is you yourself. Maybe your wife, probably she also not. Because she doesn't know that it's so chashuv. So you in your own mind decided that you didn't get covered. You're the only one who notices you got a bracha. Trust me, nobody. I go to a lot of chuppahs. And I don't, not always because of a bracha, just to go to the chuppah. I was once at a chuppah, and there was a big question: who's going to be the Messiah? It was like officially a chashuv chasana. Chashuv chasana means, I'm not going to say what it means. So when they called up the Rav for Siddur Kedushin, I went over to a few people who all thought that they should have gotten the job, and I said, Ich fühl sich schon besser. They say, why? I say, now I know that it's not me. A whole time I was nervous, maybe me, maybe not me. They say Reb Chaim Shmulevich, the Rosh Hashiva of Mir, somebody told me he heard from him once. He said the Gemara says in Masechta Sanhedrin, was it Daf Kuf Gimel, Acher Hadvarim Ha'ela, my Acher Hadvarim Ha'ela, Hashem grabbed Yerovim ben Nevat, and he told them, do tshuva, and if you do tshuva, Ani v'ata uben Yishai netayel b'gan Eden. Me, you, and David HaMelech will stroll in paradise. So Yeravim said, Mi b'roish, who's going to go first? Me or David? So Hashem said David. He says, if that I don't want, I don't need your Gan Eden. And he went back to his sinful ways. So Reb Chaim asked, it's where they brought in Mefarshim. Arizal has a shtickle on this also, Lekutei Hashas Arizal. Hashem told him, me, you, and Ben Yishai will stroll in Gan Eden. He already told him that he's first. Why did he ask? Ani va'ato Ben Yishai. So Chaim Shmulevich had a good sense of humor. He says, I go to a chuppah for my student, my Talmud. They call me up. The MC gets up and he calls me up. He says, Izme mechabed mit Siddur Kedushin, Harav Agon, Amud Hayomin, Patish HaChoyzek, Rabban Shel Kol Bnei HaGoyle, Grester Rosh Hashiva of the Welt, Hagon HaAdis, Sarah Teure, Marbitz Teure. Reb Chaim Shmulevich, he says, the mainstich ge'aruf? You think I go up? I don't go up. Ich will es hören noch einmal. I want to hear it again. I don't go up. I want to hear it again. I wait. Let them say it again. So Yeravim ben Nevat wanted to hear it again. One of the Bachim in the mirror told me, Yerushalayim told me, that he once told them that he walks around the Zal. The Bachim are learning a shtikl Reb Chaim, Chidush Rabbeinu Chaim Alev El Ram, Reb Chaim Soloveitchik. And he hears the Bachim say, Dasib Shatter Reb Chaim. No, you didn't understand the Reb Chaim. He says, I know they're not talking about me. Aber sefart geschmack. But it's still geschmack. So when you could laugh at your own, we all have egos, and the egos come out in different ways. Our Rav asked me the other day, he says he has 50 people to give honors by the chuppah. He only has Sheva brachas. What should he do? I told him, do what I do. He says, what do you do? I say, I distribute al-chetz. Al-chetz, you have plenty. You just have to give the right one to the right person. That's it. So that's a little bit of an avoida. I can help you with that. But the point is, you have enough kibbutim for everybody. Somehow he didn't like my idea. But when you could realize that the ego is big, or the insecurity is even bigger, but vatispeseu bevigdoi, Don't let your beged become your trap. Don't let your garments become your trap. Vayonas vayetze achutza. I'm not defined by my shame, insecurities, fears, and ego. Then you can pick up a call, you can pick up a telephone. You make up. Do it. It's been 10 years. Do it this year. L'kava tavshnai ches. Do it. Then it'll be Yavrim lefanecha k'bnei Maroin, Hasiri Kodesh, a balmum mele, a batreifa, that people can't look at you, that people can't eat you, that you have to get rid of. Balmum God will take care of. There was a Jew, what was his name? Simon Wiesenthal, Shimon Wiesenthal. He was in Auschwitz. He was a Nazi hunter. Passed away a few years ago. So he told a story once that in the displaced person camps after the war, they were in the DP camps. And a Jew came over to him and he said, I desperately need money and I have a relative in America who's going to be sending me money. And he needed money, $10, which in the 1940s, right after the war, was not a small amount of money, especially for survivors who had nothing. And Wiesenthal had it. And the Jew said, next week I'm getting money in the mail and I'm going to pay you back. And he gives the Jew the $10. A week later, Jew says, you know how it works? Another week. Try. Another week, it's a month, it's 2 months. A year later, the Jew comes over to him and he says, next week, he got a visa next week. He's on a boat, he's going to the United States. And he feels bad. So he takes out the $10 and he gives it to Wiesenthal and he apologizes. Wiesenthal says, I'm not taking your money. He says, why not? He says, $10 is not worth me changing my opinion of you. That's it. My opinion is more valuable than $10. But Mechillas Kvoides, I'll have an alichtike Gan Eden, and I'm not judging anybody, but that's not the right approach. It's not the right approach. It's sometimes hard to change an opinion. It's hard, not only for $10, sometimes even for $1,000 it's hard to change an opinion. But a person has to be able to recreate themselves, to open up new vistas, new windows. A new way. What do we say? Rabbi Yoel sang earlier, Shifchi chamayim libech noichach pnei Hashem. What's pshat Shifchi chamayim libech? Pour your heart out like water. Why like water? Why not like Kool-Aid, like lemonade, like Coca-Cola? Okay, Yirmiyahu didn't know about Coca-Cola. I'm not sure why. But what's Shifchi chamayim libech? What's chamayim? You know the word. The word Kedushas Yom Tov says, what's mayim? We spoke earlier. The water in the ocean and the sea rises. It crashes. Adirim mishbirayam. It crashes. But it rises with tempo, with gusto. It knows it's going to crash. But right now, it has power and intensity and it doesn't give up. It doesn't give up just because it sees a future and it sees a past right now. Shifchi chamayim libech noichach pnei Hashem. Live with present moment. Pour your heart out like water. Learn from the water. Don't calculate your past. Don't calculate in the future. Right now, open yourself up to the miracle of relationships, to the miracle of creation.
Lemana chai v'rayoy, Lemana chai v'rayoy, Adabrono, Adabrono, Sholoi bo, Lemana chai v'rayoy, Lemana chai v'rayoy, Adabrono, Adabrono, Sholoi bo, L'maves Hashem Elokeinu,
I want to tell you a special Torah. Huh? You know, they say a story, a bissel some negune mit dem Meister, a bissel negine. They say a Meister with the Apterov, the helicopter of. A Yid came to him and said, Rebbe, I'm broke. What else is new? I have to marry you off. My daughter, I don't have a ruble, not for the wedding, not for the naden, not for a house, not to give something to the chassan, not to give the kala, nothing. Plus I have another 5 daughters in the house waiting. The Apterov says, how much do you need for this wedding? He says, I need 5,000 ruble for everything. The Apterov says, do you have anything? He says, Rebbe, chab ein ruble. I have 1 ruble in my pocket. He says, oh, wunderbar, that's good. You travel, and the first business interaction that you encounter, anything you can buy, purchase, buy it. He says, Rebbe, what can you buy for 1 ruble? He says, you'll be surprised. You can buy things for a ruble. The first opportunity, buy. Fine. Rebbe says, he goes. Stops in an inn, what they used to call a kretschmer. We call today a Motel 6. Some Jews call it the Ritz-Carlton. That depends how many ruble you have in your pocket. But Zolzaina Kretschmer wasn't even a Motel 6. It was an inn where you sit, you chap a bissel yayin saraf, a little bed to sleep, a hot oven, an oven to warm you up. And he sees a chevra Jews, leitzim, scoffers, mockers, kalim, lightheaded people. They're drinking, they're gambling, poker, whatever they're doing. He was a Chassidish Yid, a Abter Rav, a Talmud, a Chos. And they want to, they want to bother him a little bit. They start making fun. What are you here for? He says, I'm here to do business. They say, what type of business? He says, show me what you have. One of them was a diamond dealer. He takes out his diamonds. He says, Drew, how much do you want to pay? He says, 1 ruble. 1 ruble. They start laughing. Who's going to sell you anything for a ruble? I don't know, but there's things you could buy for a ruble. So one of them says, you know what? I have a deal for you. If you give me 1 ruble, I'll sell you my olam haba. My olam haba for a ruble. The Abter Rav said, the first business deal you got to do. He gives him a ruble. He says, let's make a contract. Writes down in the contract, I sell you my olam haba, my portion in the world to come. The Jew is happy. He has a paper with this man's olam haba. They go on gambling, and he did his business deal. He's not sure exactly how this is going to help him. How this guy's olam haba is supposed to help him marry off his daughter. But he sits down, he goes to sleep. This man, the gambler, goes home, sitting with his wife. His wife says, how was your day? And every wife asks the question, the $1 million question, how was your day? So many men start grumping. But this guy says, oh, I met this idiot, and for a ruble, I sold him my olam haba. Wife says, you crazy? You sell your olam haba? I'm not living with such a man. You throw away your olam haba, your portion of the world to come? Get out of the house until you don't get back your olam haba. He says, okay, I'll get it back. You're also a foolish woman. Goes back, he meets the Jew, he says, here's your ruble, give me back my olam haba. Jew says, no, business is business. A deal is a deal. I bought it. He says, I'll give you 10 ruble. No. I'll give you 50 ruble. No. I'll give you 100 ruble. No. How much do you want? He says, 5,000 ruble I want. He says, he goes home. He says, I can't deal with the guy. 5,000 ruble for my olam haba? She says, get out of the house. I'm not living with a guy who sold his olam haba. He tries to negotiate. The Jew doesn't budge. He knew this was it. He got his 5,000 ruble. He got his 5,000 ruble to marry off his daughter. And the first thing, he went to the Abter Rav to say thank you. He goes into the Abter Rav listens to the story, and the Abter Rav tells him, I want you to know something. When he sold you his olam haba was only worth 1 ruble. It was taka worth 1 ruble. It wasn't worth more. It was a fair deal. You got his olam haba for 1 ruble. That's exactly what it cost. But now after he gave you the money for your daughter, his olam haba is taka worth 5,000 ruble and really much more. So it was a fair deal on both levels. To get back his olam haba was taka worth 5 ruble. Why? Because he used his money. He used his money to help you. Why do I share this with you? I want to share with you a Torah and a story. Give us some negina. The Torah I said probably once or twice or maybe more. I said in a shir I think a few days ago. But at this time of the year I always feel that it's one of the important messages of our times. The Gemara says, Masechta Chagigah, Daf Tesvav Amud Aleph. The Gemara says that Elisha ben Avuya, who's the only heretic from hundreds of Tanoim and Amirayim, he's the only one who we know was OTD. And he had a good education. He wasn't thrown out of yeshivas. He was the Rebbe of Rabbi Akiva, of Reb Meir, and the friend of Rabbi Akiva. But he left completely. He left so heavily, so aggressively. They didn't call him by his name. They called him Acher. You know why they called him Acher? The Gemara says a woman saw him plucking a flower on Shabbos, and she said, Elisha ben Avuya, Matana. And he says, it's Acher, it's somebody else. It's not Elisha ben Avuya, it's somebody else. That name stuck. Somebody else, the stranger. One day it was Shabbos. Elisha ben Avuya was horseback riding on Shabbos. And what is he doing while he's horseback riding? He's giving a shear. What's a better way to give a shear than while you're on the horse? Reb Meir, his Rebbe, his student, wants to hear the shear. He knows when Elisha ben Avuya speaks, it's good to listen, there's something to hear. Sometimes when people speak, you know it's time to go to sleep. I once heard an MC introduce somebody. He said, this next speaker doesn't need an introduction, he needs an ending. I once heard a rabbi get up to speak, and he went on and on and on and on and on. And at some point the oilam was a little drowsy, and he says, I don't speak for long, I don't speak long, it just seems that way. But Elisha ben Avuya, when he spoke, there was what to hear, even though he was an apikoros, he was completely alien to Yiddishkeit. So Reb Meir is walking. Meir can't go horseback riding. A Mishnah in Beitza. You don't ride an animal. It's a shvus. It's a rabbinic prohibition. Shema yachtach zmoira. So Reb Meir is walking, running. Elisha ben Avuya is on the horse, and he's giving a shear. Elisha ben Avuya continues on the horse for a long time. Reb Meir is rushing and following him, pursuing him. He got to work out that Shabbos. And at some point, Elisha ben Avuya turns to the Meir and he says, Meir, as I was giving the shear, I was counting Ikvei Hasuz, the footsteps of the horse. And I made a cheshbon at kan Tchum Shabbos. This is Tchum Shabbos, Chazor B'cho. You have to go back. Elisha ben Avuya is horseback riding on Shabbos. He's giving a shear, and during that time, he's counting the footsteps to say that it's Tchum Shabbos, 2,000 amos. So the Meir says, Rabbi, Af Ata Chazor Bach. You also come back. Of course, it's a play on words. He means geographically, and he means existentially. So Rabbi Elisha ben Avuya says, I can't come back. Rabbi Meir says, why not? So Elisha ben Avuya says, it was Yom Kippur, Shechali is b'Shabbos, like this year. And I went horseback riding. What does a good Jewish boy do on Yom Kippur, Shechali is b'Shabbos? What do they do? What do? You go horseback riding. Where do you go horseback riding Yom Kippur, Shechali is b'Shabbos? Where do you go? Montana? Kentucky? Where do you go? You go, Elisha ben Avuya says, you go on the Harabayis. It was horseback riding Yom Kippur on the Harabayis. Where on the Harabayis? Where on the Temple Mount? The place where the Holy of Holies used to stand. Remember, Elisha ben Avuya was the generation of the Churban. He knew what the Beis HaMikdash was like. He saw Binyan Hordus. He saw the waves. He saw the waves of the sea. And he saw the crash. He saw the end. And suddenly I heard a baskel. I heard a voice from heaven. Shuvu bonim shoivavim chutz meyacher. Return, my children, return. Return, children who are shoivavim, who went astray. We say it in the Ilah from Yecheskel. Chutz meyacher, besides acher. So he says, Reb Meir, Hashem told me I'm not welcome. Shuvu bonim chutz meyacher. And that was it. He never did tshuva. He died without tshuva. Ask the commentators, the story doesn't make sense at first glance. What happened to the words of the Rambam? Not just the Rambam. One of the axioms of Judaism is Ein lecha davar ha'omed b'fnei ha'tshuva. Nothing stands in the way of tshuva. The Rambam in Hilchos Tshuva Perek Gimel, afilu kafar beikir kol yomov v'shav ba'acharoina moichel loy. Could deny God his whole life, Menashe Melech Yisrael, 55 years, a tyrant, a dictator, an evil king, murdered his own Zayda, Yeshaya, Anovi, Yevamas, Daf Memtes. And Menashe is forgiven. Menashe can do tshuva. Elisha ben Avuya can do tshuva. A baskel from heaven. Who ever heard of that? Chutz me'acher. Besides, I have another question. Anybody here ever heard of baskel Yom Kippur Shechali is b'Shabbos? I don't go horseback riding Yom Kippur Shechali is b'Shabbos. I don't go horseback riding on the Harabayis, not even Yom Kippur Shechali is b'Shabbos. He goes horseback riding on Yom Kippur, on Shabbos, on the Harabayis, and he is a baskel. God speaks to him. And what does he tell him? By the way, you're not welcome to do tshuva. He wasn't planning to. What do you have to tell him? Imagine somebody comes over to you Friday night in shul and says, by the way, you're not invited to my house. I never asked you to come. He never asked God to do tshuva. He's horseback riding him. He's having a good time. By the way, Elisha ben Avuya, if you have a machshava zara to do tshuva, ben gavra legavra, when the horse gets a little wild and cranky, you're not welcome. Was epis, was plutzling, from where, from what? Pshat is Tayir Yidden, open your hearts. The same story you have in Yerushalmi, the Masechta Chagiga, the same story, but there's a change. You know what the voice told them? Shuvu bonim shoivavim chutz me Elisha ben Avuya. Return children besides Elisha ben Avuya. In the Bavli, in the Babylonian Talmud, in Bavli, Chagigat Ezvav, chutz me Acher. In Yerushalmi, chutz me Elisha ben Avuya. Which one got it right? Is it, what did the Baskel say? Did it say Shuvu bonim chutz me Acher? Or did it say chutz me Elisha ben Avuya? Contradiction. The answer is, usually we say halacha kebavli. Yerushalmi and Bavli, we follow the Bavli, was written a century later. So what was the Baskel? Chutz me'acher. So why does it say Yerushalmi? Chutz me'elisha ben Avuya. Tayir Yidden, the meaning is this. What Hashem, what the Rebbeinu Shalom was telling Elisha ben Avuya was, you are my child. Shuvu bonim shoivavim. You are my child. Come back, my child. Chutz me'acher. Let go of your perception of yourself as an acher. Elisha ben Avuya, my dear child, a few years ago you woke up one morning and some strange dibuk went into your psyche and you looked in the mirror and you said, I'm an acher. I'm an alien, I'm a stranger, I'm a foreigner, I'm not connected, I belong to Roman and Greek culture, I am not part of Knesset Yisrael, I'm the loser, I'm the outcast, I'm the acher, I'm the Kal Shebekalim, I'm the lowlife, I'm the bum, I'm the Poishei Yisrael, I'm the Shaygitz, I'm the Goy. Hashem says, today is Yom Kippur. I want you to know I always looked at you as my child. Chutz me'acher, let go of your acher. Take your perception of yourself as acher and leave it bachutz. Leave it outside. Today you and I are the closest we ever were because we were close. Chutz me'acher, let go of your self-proclamation of your identity as an acher. See yourself as a child. That's what the Baskel was telling him. But you know what he heard? You know what he heard? He didn't hear that. You know what he heard? He heard Shuvu bonim shoivavim chutz me Elisha ben Avuya. That's what he heard. That was a tragedy. In his mind, Acher and Elisha ben Avuya became one and the same. They were synonymous. He couldn't distinguish between the two. So when he heard chutz me'acher, he heard chutz me'elisha ben Avuya. The women in the Ezras Nashim probably can testify that there's always a difference between what you tell your husband and what your husband hears. They're all nodding. What you tell him is one thing. What he heard you telling him, trust me, is usually the exact opposite. It's not enough what I tell you. I have to know what you heard me say to you. One of the biggest issues in marriages. He said, she said, he said, Yenna said, this one said. This is what I said and this is what you heard me say. This is what the Baskel said and this is what Elisha ben Avuya heard. He heard chutz me Elisha ben Avuya. But you know why this is such a relevant story? Today we have people walking around everywhere. And I mean even people dressed with a nice black kapota, with a nice big beautiful streimel, with a gartel. But deep inside you look at yourself and you identify yourself by one word. And that's the word acher. You're an alien, you're a stranger, you're a foreigner. All the negative messages that you tell yourself or other people tell you, you internalize. And when you come to shul for Selichos, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, you feel like an acher. I and God have no connection. I'm not going to lie for the rest of my life. Some of us say it, some of us think it, some of us think it, but we're scared to say that we think it. Some of us think it unconsciously, consciously, and some of us whisper it, and some of us just display it on our faces so a few of us could see it. Sometimes we look at our children, especially certain ones, and we say, you're an acher. You don't belong in my house. You don't belong in my community. You don't belong in my shul. You're an acher, you're an alien, you're a foreigner. You create shame for my family. You create shame for my mishpacha. You create shame for your Zayda and Baba. You're an acher. You're a foreign curse that fell into our lives. And I can do nothing. What should I do? Tell us, our holy sages, the Chachamim, that you missed the point. The Rebbeinu Shalom tells every Jew at this time of the year, Shuvu Banim, you're my child. Chas v'shalom, to look at yourself and say you're an acher. Chas v'shalom, to look at a child and say that she or he is acher. This doesn't mean we don't have challenges. This doesn't mean we don't have to face our challenge. We have lots of challenges. But you're not dealing with an acher. You're dealing with pain. You're dealing with a Yetzer Hara. You're dealing with various problems, but not acher. I once heard from Shlomo Kalbach, an experience he had. He went to Heidelberg, Germany. Anybody was in Heidelberg? Heidelberg. It was late at night, and he was walking on one of the streets. Out comes a man from a local bar, 12 o'clock a.m., and he's wearing a yarmulke with a beard. He has payas. And this man comes out of the bar as a half tipsy. So you know Shlomo looks at this man. He says, he originally came from Germany, from Baden. His father was from Baden. He says, Du bist ein Jude? You're Jewish? He asked this man. The man says, Ja, ich bin ein Jude, I'm a Jew. And this is what he tells him. He says, I'm a Jew, but I'm a Jew who never did anything Jewish in his life. He says, my parents were from Germany, and when they saw that the earth was burning, they gave me to a neighbor who was not Jewish. I was a baby, to raise me. They were gone. They were finished. And I emerged as a Gentile, My neighbors told me I was Jewish, but who needs it? Who needs it? So I remained like a Gentile. And then he tells him, he says, I never ever did anything Jewish in my whole life. In fact, he's drunk. He says, I never even did anything good in my whole life. And he says to him, Ich bin das ärgste Jude auf der Welt. I'm the worst Jew in the whole world. But drunk, he was drunk. So when he finishes that, he says, he picks up his hands, he says, Das ärgste Jude auf der Welt. The worst Jew on the world. Aber doch ein Jude. But still a Jew. So Shlomo says, he says, you know, people always talk. Who was the greatest man you met? Who was the greatest Jew you met? Who was the greatest personality you met? Who was the greatest tzaddik you met? Tell me about him. We always boast about the greatest Jews that we met. He said, but I boast about the worst Jew that I met. The worst Jew who declared in the middle of the night in Heidelberg, Das ärgste Jude, aber doch ein Jude. What's the doch ein Jude? Deep down, he knew Hitler would have killed him with the same venom that he would murder a tzaddik Yesod Olam. Why? Why with the same venom? I understand you're sending into the gas chambers a holy, righteous Jew. You hate Jews. This guy is not a Jew. Because sometimes evil knows the truth. That there's a certain kedusha, the chelek eloikami mal mamish of a Yiddish neshama is identical by every Jew. Shuvu bonim shoivovim chutz meyacher. So therefore, my dear friends, as it comes this time of the year, I beg you, I ask you, I challenge you, and I invite you never to look at yourself even for a moment as the alien one, as the lost one, as the foreigner, as the stranger. Even if you made many, many, many mistakes in your life, welcome to the club. But don't call yourself an acher. Always call yourself a child. Tayere Yidden. Do you know why the term, what's the term in Lashon Kodesh that's used for purgatory, for Gehenim? Gehinoim was a valley called Hinoim in Tanakh. But what's the term that we use for purgatory, for Gehenim? What they call in Webster's dictionary, H-E-L-L. It's a word in the dictionary. How do we say it in Lashon Kodesh? And the word that's used for it is Sha'oil. Sha'oil Tachtis. Somebody probably told you, well, some of you, you'll end up in Sha'oil Tachtis. Or you already ended up in Sha'oil Tachtis. Or you remind me of Sha'oil Tachtis. Or with you, we don't need a picture of Sha'oil Tachtis. That is you. Sha'oil Tachtis. Va'atzia Sha'oil Hineka. Why is this the name for purgatory? And the answer is Sha'oil means the word Sha'ol, borrowed. What does it mean to live in purgatory? What does it mean to live in Gehenna? What does it mean to live in the abyss? It means to live a borrowed life. To live a life that is sha'ul, that is borrowed. Why would anybody want to live a borrowed life? And the answer is because tachtis. Because they feel they're always on the bottom. And if you feel you're always on the bottom, how do you get to the top? You have to borrow somebody else's life. You have to live somebody else's life. If I could only borrow your life, I'll be on the top. But that's the definition of living in purgatory. Your whole life is not yours. Your whole life is borrowed. It's borrowed from other people. Sometimes you look at people's lives. If you look around here, even in this room, kulam nikbitzu bo'olach. There's so much creativity, so much power, so much holiness, so much love, so much wisdom, and so much depth. But sometimes when people go back to their own orbits, they lose their own life and they start living borrowed lives. Everything becomes borrowed. Nothing is my own. I emulate, I mimic, I copy, either physically or emotionally or psychologically or spiritually. People are afraid to live their own life. But Hashem made you to be you. All of us are born originals. Most of us die as copies. And the reason often is because we live in Sha'ol Tachtis. But in order to help people live their own lives, it's very important for people to remember not to be judgmental in life. A judgmental society is a superficial society. Whenever you know what's going on with people, how could you be judgmental? I have the privilege, heart to heart, I speak to you, to meet a lot of people on an ongoing basis and to hear some of their stories in life. Even if I want today, I can't be judgmental, even if I try to. I try sometimes. I can't. You know why? All judgmentalism comes from ignorance. Judgmentalism never comes from knowledge, never from wisdom, always from ignorance. The Mishnah says, "Al tadin es chavercha shetagil im kaimai." Don't judge other people till you don't reach their space, till you don't put on their shoes and walk 1,000 miles. And you're never going to reach a space. There's so much pain that people carry. You know that? You have it in this room. You know how many stories you have in this room? Every person himself, Yoeli, how many stories exist in you? Just in this person, you have 1.3 million stories. And they're just beginning. That's just one person sitting near me. You go to every person here. The Gemara says a person is an oilam male. It's not. It's literally like that. There's a whole universe in every person. Their upbringing, their childhood, their family, their experiences. Positive, negative. Challenging, thrilling. Heavenly, earthly. Gan Eden, Gehenim. All in one person. That's in one person. You look at people, but often there's so much pressure by us. You have to look this way, you have to speak this way. Everybody is living a borrowed life. And we have to embrace it. Give people space to be who they really are. And then you'll see that they're much holier than you ever imagined. So word from Rabbi in Berlin, the son of the Nitziv. The Nitziv was the Rosh Yeshiva of Alozhin. He had a son, Rabbi in Berlin. He was the Rav of Moscow. And he once got stuck in Kippur somewhere. He once got stuck. Hicktown. And he looked for a shul. They said there's one shul. He comes to shul for Kol Nidrei. Nobody shows up. Imagine you come to shul. I sometimes hope that happens. Nobody shows up on Machaya. You get to go home. Nobody, he davens himself. Shachris, nobody shows up. Musaf, Avoid, nobody's here. I'm not in the place. Mincha, some Jews walk into Shul Yom Kippur. Chaim Berlin was, what's going on? What's going on? They come in dirty and filthy, mitlopetus with shovels full of plaster, cement, earth, concrete. What's going on? He says, before Yom Kippur, there came out a decree that to mobilize the citizens of the city to do a major project for the government. They had to build something for the Tsar. And they begged, they said it's Yom Kippur. No exceptions. So we had to work. We just finished. We came over to Shul. Straight from the fields where they were working, we came over to Shul. So Reb Chaim Berlin said, I want to say when I came here, I felt so bad that I'm going to miss my Shul, my family, Yom Kippur. But now that I'm here, I want to tell you something. They say there were once two farmers who came to the Rav for a din Torah. There was chickens, and each one said that the chickens owned by them. This farmer said, these are my chickens. This farmer said, these are my chickens. The chicken's feet were tied, and everybody was screaming, it's my chicken. So the Rav said, let's untie the feet of the chicken. Put down the chicken, and the chicken ran in one direction. He said, obviously this is the owner. So Chaim Berlin said, the feet of the Jewish people are tied. When you untie the feet, you remove the ropes and the cords, just let them go free. You see where they go, you'll know that's the owner. So the feet of the Jewish people are tied. The moment you untie their feet, look where they ran. This means you're their owner. They belong to you, they don't belong to anybody else. The moment their feet are untied, they run to you. When we're insecure with our Judaism, we have to tie. We have to tie down feet. But when you know the truth, Shuvu Bonim Shoivavim, you realize if you untie the feet of a Jew, you untie the soul, the heart of a Jew, he'll run straight to his owner. Yisrael Kedoshim, Yisrael Ma'aminim B'nei Ma'aminim. We have to trust our creativity. We have to trust our individuality. We have to trust our souls. We have to trust our minds. We have to trust our bodies. We have to trust our people. We have to trust. And we have to allow people to breathe, to express themselves, to be fully alive and fully present. And then every person has nuclear divine energy waiting to unleash and light up the world around them. But in order to be able to unleash your energy, you can't be in Shol Tachtas. You can't live a borrowed life. Borrowed lives are not powerful, they're weak by definition. Zog di Gemara in Ksuvos, Tanu Rabbanon, Keitzad Miragdin Lifnei HaKala. Beishama Yoimrim, Kala Kamoi Shehi. Beisilal Yoimrim, Kala Nova Chsuda. Ksuvos Daf Yud Zayin. How do you dance before Kala? Beishamai says every Kala you praise the way she is. Beis Hillel says every Kala you say the same thing. She's beautiful and gracious. Amrulem Beishamai leBeis Hillel. What if she's chigeres, oisuma? Sometimes you have a person who's blind, a person who's lame. Va'atayra amra midvar sheker tirchak. Kala nova chasuda. It's not true. Not true. Can you do it the Maisa? A shadchan set up a boy and a girl, and after they met for 2 hours, the girl whispers to the shadchan, "You're a liar." Shadchan says, "Why? Why am I a liar?" She says, "You said he's tall, he's short. You said he's skinny, he's fat. You said he's handsome, he's grotesque. You said he's smart, he's a dumb." She's whispering. Shadchan says, "You don't have to whisper, he's also deaf." What are you lying to me? So Beis Hillel answers, if you go to the marketplace, your wife buys a new outfit, she comes home, she says, "You like it?" What do you say? "It's horrific, it's horrible, I wouldn't give it to my enemy." You say, Geschmack, gewaldig, beautiful. Lokach mekach min hashuk. Yishapchenu yiganenu. Vada yishapchenu. Loylam teidai teshlodem urevis in mabrias. Everybody asks, so you're allowed to lie? Beishamai asked a good question. Don't lie. Don't tell a kala no v'chasud. That's not true. Find a virtue. Don't lie. Beis Hillel says everybody lies all day. Everybody lies. No one says truth. It's nice. Yeah, it's beautiful. Such a nice tie. Chmana litzlan. Such nice shoes. The Eibush does a loisit. Who gave you taste? What's pshat? Truth is, Beis Hillel doesn't believe in lying. What Beis Hillel is telling Beis Shammai is, you come to a wedding and you look at a kala and you have to think to yourself, you're dancing. The chassan shows this kala. V'yizak the Gemara in Saitem Em Zayin, Chein Isha al Baila. The chassan shows this kala. She's beautiful and gracious. You have a different opinion. For 20 minutes you came to somebody's wedding. Shut off your phone. Stop texting. Put on the glasses of the chassan and look at life for a few minutes from his perspective. And you'll say, Kala Nova Chasud. It's not a lie. It's called appreciating another perspective and celebrating another person's life. What does this mean on a deeper level? Beis Shammai was Midas Hagvura. Shammai was harsh. Beis Shammai says, you look at a Jew, you dance in front of a Jew. Ketzad miragdin lifnei akala. You want to dance. Every Jew is a kala. You want to dance. Beis Shammai says, Kala kamoishi. Tell me exactly who she is. Beis Hillel says, you look at a Jew, you say, Kala nova chasuda. Beautiful and gracious. Amalem Beis Shammai. It's not true. Some Jews are missing vision. Some Jews are missing motion. Don't lie. Says Beis Shammai, Beis Hillel to Beis Shammai, my dear friends, Beis Shammai, Ha'adam yireh le'inayim v'Hashem yireh la'levav. Der Eibishter doch ois gekliben, dem yid al zayin kala. Hashem chose this Jew as his bride. God thinks he's beautiful. Where do you have the audacity and the narrow-mindedness and the pettiness and the immaturity and the lack of spiritual sophistication, education, and enlightenment to look and say, ugly? Just because you don't see, put on the Ribbono Shel Olam's glasses for a few minutes. Look at this Jew the way God sees him and you'll say, Kala Nova Chasuda. I look at a person, appreciate, let them be, let them grow, let them express themselves, let them develop. Don't choke, don't jump on people. We jump on people. Somebody says something we don't like, don't you create an environment where everybody is scared. Everybody is scared to say, everybody is scared to think, everybody is scared to express themselves. Everybody is borrowing other people's lives. I look at you to define me. You look at you to define him. She looks at her to define her. You know the Maisa? Alta Maisa. It happened in one of our homes. There was a mouse. There was a mouse that loved a home. There was a home here in Muncie because it has a lot of cheese. The problem is the owner got a cat, and the cat started to make the mouse miserable. So the mouse turned to the Ribbono Shel Olam and said, Kaylee, Kaylee, lama zaftani. Why did you make me a mouse? Please make me a cat. Ribbono Shel Olam said, you were a good mouse. I'm going to make you a cat. He becomes a cat. I'm a chaya, free at last. The owner decides to get a dog. And now the dog starts chasing the cat. Life became miserable. The cat turns to Hashem and said, Kaylee, Kaylee, lama sasini chasul taseni kelev. Do me a favor, machmir al-hunt. I would love to be a dog. He becomes a dog. I'm a chaya. The dog is roaming around freely, becomes the pet, the best friend. And then the owner decides that the dog is too wild. He has to train the dog. And he starts training the dog and zapping and disciplining the dog with makas and zapping and all types of disciplines. And the poor dog's life becomes miserable. Every time the dog wants to eat a cheese Danish, a hot dog, a burger, zapped. And the dog turns to the Rebbeinu Shalom and says, God, why do you punish me so badly? Hashem says, what do you want? He says, make me the man of the house. Abracadabra, do the dog becomes the man of the house. I'm a chaya. He's the boss. He's free. He feels that he is the owner of the house. Nobody's going to boss him around. And then his wife comes home. And when his wife comes home and she makes it very clear to him, who is the Balabayis? He turns to God and he says, Kaylee, Kaylee, why did you punish me? Hashem says, what now? He says, make me the woman of the house. Hashem says, no problem. Abracadabra, within a few moments, he becomes the woman of the house. He or she is standing in the kitchen, free, independent, autonomous, confident. This is my house. And suddenly she sees a mouse. And did you ever know what happens when your wife sees a mouse? So the Ebershtai sitting kemapei chazdoim v'amoyre. Saikis adlei v'ashamayim. She saw a mouse. And the mouse is running and she's running with brooms. She calls out Salam, Misaskim, Shoimrim, Shmirim, Zamrim, Shoirim, Chevre Kadisha. Everyone she calls, her husband is not answering. She turns to God and she says, God, why did you punish me? I thought I'll finally become the master of the house. Hashem says, so what do you want now? She says, I want to be a mouse. Hashem says, you were a mouse. That's what you were. From the mouse to the cat to the dog to the man to the woman, back to the mouse. But that's the story of so many lives. The mouse is trying to copy this one. This one is trying to copy this one. This one's trying to copy this one. And all of them are trying to copy the mouse. Everyone, I'm afraid of you. You're afraid of him. You're afraid of him. He's afraid of him. And he's afraid of me. And poor me, I'm trying to impress him. Who's trying to impress him? Who's trying to impress me? And that's the humor of life. Sha'ol tachtes. So I want to bless you, my dear friends. Tayere chaverim. Tayere Yiddische Kinder. Chsidim v'anshe Meise. Tachel shana v'kilalaysa. Tachel shana b'rechisa. It should be a year where everybody embraces their true infinite power, their true infinite holiness, their true infinite charisma, their true infinite energy, creativity, kedusha, depth, and allow it to spread. Instead of borrowing life, become a giver, become a creator, become an ambassador of love, of light, and of hope. And when you let yourself do that, and you let the people around you do that, you'll never imagine how much goodness, how much purity, how much Gettlichkeit will emerge from the hearts. Remember, when you untie the feet, they run straight to their owner. And all Jews know who their owner is.